Welcome to Beyond Sundays, a podcast from two friends trying to follow Jesus more closely. Odds are you won't always agree with us and we'll stumble along the way, but we promise to be open and honest all the way through. I'm Matt, here with Hannah. We've got a website you can use to keep our show links and socials all in one place. Check out beyondsundays.pod.com. We are genuinely and truly grateful to all of our listeners, and thank you for fitting us into your busy life. You can help us grow the community, and it helps so much if you would do this by following, rating, and reviewing us on Apple and Spotify. Look, if you share our links, we'll stop talking about it.
That's exactly
We have
right.
the best people in the community, Hannah. They are truly wonderful.
Yep, they are wonderful people. We're so thankful for each of you. Thank you for your feedback, for the things you share with us, all the emails. We love it.
Directing our episodes, giving us marching orders. It's a good time. It's
sharing
a good
our
community
stuff.
to
We
be
love
a part
it.
of.
We love it.
I think we can call it the family of God, no?
I'm not sure.
Oh, we do that all the time in church. I just thought that we're all Christians, kind of, heading
Give
in
me
the same
another
direction.
episode to think about whether or not I'm down. Maybe next episode I'm going to be like, yes, that's it.
Oh, the family of God. Okay. All right, Hannah, I have a critically important question for you.
Okay.
On an average day, not you're sick, just a regular average day, how many times a day do you think you sneeze?
Oh my gosh. If an average day,
Yeah.
I would say I sneeze once a week.
Okay. So in my classes, I start my classes all with a map or a chart or a graph. I just want to put something up. I want to talk about it for a second, and then I want to get going with class. So I found on Reddit, this guy tracked all of his sneezes for a decade, which is it's not kind of dorky. It's incredibly dorky. But like each year was a different color, and so he just plotted them out. He had one year in 2016 where he sneezed 1,500 times. And I just started thinking about the math of that. I was like, that's like 4 sneezes a day. I'm like you. Now, I sneezed nonstop this past weekend because I was sick. You can probably still kind of hear it in my voice. But on a normal average day, I think I sneeze like 1 time a week. What is he doing sneezing 4 times a day?
There are some people, though, that when they sneeze 8 to 16 times in a row.
Oh, 16 times. I think I'd rather throw up.
That's a lot. I don't mind a sneeze. As long as there's not a bunch of snot. Sometimes it's just like, it's like this relief. Like, oh my gosh, I got that out of my nose.
I should know this about you, but are you one of those people that like you sneeze? Do you give it the full exhale? Or are you one of those people that's like, you know what I mean? Like they just make that. Yeah, you have to. Now, I'm not just spraying it. Yeah, I'm not just
all the
spraying.
way over.
Yeah.
You're not just spraying it, just little bits.
Well, I am covering it. But I'm letting the sneeze fully exit. You know what I mean? I'm not just like trumpeting it into the middle of the air like it's the 5th trumpet in Revelation.
If I'm in public, yes, I cover it. But at home, I like do a whole like bend all the way over. It may end up on the floor.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. Well, your cats will probably just lick that up.
Oh, no, that's disgusting. But it does scare Liam. It's just loud and crazy. Yeah, there's no holding this in. And sometimes if I feel like I have to sneeze, I just pull a nose hair. Have you ever done that?
No. And it goes away?
No, it makes you sneeze. If you look at the sun, but if you just pull one of those, just right up in that little area,
if you look at the sun.
Have you never done that?
I am one of those people where now this is when I do sneeze. If I'm walking out of a building, especially in the summer and it's sunny, I will often sneeze.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about that, but that almost always gets me.
Yeah. And so if I feel like I have to, I purposely look at the sun. I want to know why. What does that?
I don't know, because here's the weird thing. Is that Genevieve does it, but Madeline does not.
I thought it affected everyone.
I don't think so. Now you guys can go fact check me. It's fine. I think it's some kind of genetic thing. Either you do it or you don't. I'm
shocked by that. Now I have to ask Liam. I mean, the nose hair thing, I thought for sure that worked on everybody. It's like it just does something in your nose. I don't know.
I've never heard that. The worst thing, though, is when you get one and it's getting ready to, and then it goes away.
That's the worst.
So you go through the burn cycle, and then you don't get the release, and that makes me like physically angry.
Or when you are really sick and you sneeze and nothing comes out and it's still stuffy. That's awful to me, too.
There was a trend for a while. I'm just so mad thinking about it. I'm thinking about also when you're sick, you have like, this is kind of gross, but you have like one nostril stuffed up and the other one's not.
And it just drips?
And that one that's stuffed up like blows out hot air. I literally would rather just have you cut off one of my toes.
It blows off like specifically
I can't
hot
explain
air?
it. Yes, it's hot air when I'm trying to sleep. And I'm like, I just like, you know what I mean? Like, I get so angry about it. I can't sleep.
I hate whenever one just drips. It's sometimes when I'm just doing dishes. I don't know if it's the warm water, but it just starts dripping. It
Like
makes
the
me so
moisture.
angry.
Yeah. How many people do you think have turned off our episode right now?
I think people really relate. I think that
I
we have more people listening because of this.
Look, everybody sneezes, okay?
Everybody.
And there was
Everybody
a
sneezes.
trend for a while that you felt it come on and you turn your camera into selfie mode and you tried to video yourself sneezing.
No way. Okay, that trend may be over, but I may be starting that now. That's
I was going to say,
incredible.
that feels very Hannah to me.
Have you ever it definitely is. Have you ever sneezed while you were driving?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's scary.
It is a little scary because you're
Because you
like, well,
try to
that
hold
could be the end of my life.
it's like last minute trying to hold your eyes open as long as you can, and then you close them real quick and open them. I always heard your
Yes.
eyes would bulge out if you sneeze with your eyes open. Is that true?
That has to be an urban legend. But I mean, feel free if you just if you feel sneezing on the pod, just crank those babies open and let's just see what happens.
I just thought maybe it was impossible. Where's Mythbusters when we need it? That's what we need, right? I bet it was on there.
It probably is at some point. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, we are going to transition from sneezing to dry times. And I don't know if when the air is dry, do you sneeze more or less? I'm not really sure.
I get it. My nose, it's uncomfortable. I think I think you do. I really do.
Okay. All right.
I think I do.
Well, maybe if you're in a dry season spiritually or desert season, maybe you sneeze more spiritually. Maybe we can investigate that and work that in somehow. Not sure.
We can try to. I'm not sure what sneezing spiritually looks like, so I'm not sure we can test that.
Well, listen, you are one of the strongest Christians that I know, and I truly mean that. Like your relationship with God, just have a lot of faith and confidence in that. And even for you, I know that there are times when you have these dry seasons, these desert seasons, and I think there's different ways that we can define that. So I kind of want to just let that ride because sometimes I think it is we get focused on different things. I think there's a lot of reasons it could happen. So I just kind of want to, I think everybody identifies with this dry season, desert season kind of thing. And so I just wanted to open this episode, Hannah, with asking you to share to whatever extent you're comfortable, like what was going on in your life when you were going through one of those dry spells?
Yeah, I think the most prominent one for me was when I was like 25, maybe 24. I was going through a transition period in my life and primarily just obviously in my faith.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to transition from one place to another, actually a physical location church-wise, or wanting to but not having a place to go.
Mm.
But within all of that, I was really questioning everything that I believed. And it wasn't that I didn't still believe what I believed. It was that that stuff was kind of shaken and I almost just didn't desire to do it anymore because of the way I had experienced it. It felt like it didn't mean a whole lot and I didn't feel the joy of the Lord. I didn't feel peace that passed all understanding. And so it was trying for me. And I look back at journals and there were lots of times I would say things like, quote unquote, I wish I could just let my hair down and just like be able to be me and not have to worry about what everybody thinks all the time. So it dark is not the right word, but it was a very trying time for me. And I did a lot of things and tried a lot of things that didn't match my morals and my values. But I think I was seeking something outside of where the source was. So it was a dry season for me. I didn't feel like I could connect to the source. I felt very distant.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think about how to like summarize why that happened. So it's clearly not because God changed in some way, because God is always the same at all times. So it almost sounds like it's not that your priorities changed, but the human mechanisms that you used to exercise your faith weren't doing it for you anymore.
Yeah, I think
maybe that's unfair to say.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I do think we come to a point in our lives where we have to push up against the things that we've always said that we believe. And that looks different for everyone, but I think that's kind of where you make that decision. Is this really for me, or have I done it forever just because it's what was around me? And so I feel like that was kind of the season. And I just questioned a lot, like what is this? Why am I doing this? And I mean, that was challenging. It was hard because it was everything I had ever known, but it was taking it out of the context of ministry and the approval. It was more so like, okay, so Hannah, what is your relationship with God outside of all of this? And I didn't know. I didn't understand it.
Yeah, my dry seasons, I don't have a specific one like that you have, because I also underwent a faith change for I guess you could use that terminology, but mine was more born out of the people around me than it was specifically emanating from me. And I recognized what needed to happen in the situation that I was in, and I supported that and took the steps that I needed to, and I turned out to be just fine, and I'm happy with where we're at, obviously. But when I get to one of these dry seasons, I am not sure that the people around me know for sure,
Yeah.
because I will, sometimes this feels like a little bit like a prison to me, and we've said this a billion times on this podcast, but because I do X or Y or Z leadership or teaching or whatever, like I can still do that. And
Mm.
that doesn't mean that that's the right thing, but I can
Yeah.
I know how to do those things. I can just power through it and do it. And so I am trying my best to give something to other people when my heart is not really in the right place where it should be to receive. And when I make it on the other side of one of those desert seasons or dry seasons, it is almost always because I have taken my eye off the ball of my individual relationship with Jesus, and I have just let something else excite me more, or it becomes my primary focus.
Yeah.
And it's not like bad stuff, you know what I mean? It's not like I'm selling cocaine on the side and that's what's getting
Sure.
in the way of my relationship with God.
Yeah.
They're like good, normal things in my life. But when I make it past it, I look back and I'm like, oh, I was way too focused on that thing. And it didn't leave space that God needs to take place in my life.
Yeah, I think that is something that's very relatable, is you can keep doing the things you've always done, and I agree with that. In this one specific situation, I felt like I
Hmm.
could keep doing those things, but I used the metaphor all the time. It was like I was barely keeping my head above water. It constantly felt like I was just drowning and barely was able to catch breath here and there. So I was doing the duties, doing the things I was supposed to do, but I kind of had lost touch with my individual relationship with God. It was more about the things and the stuff and checking off the list than, formulating or continuing a relationship with God.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I think that there are a lot of people who would not like to share these types of things and not like to have these conversations with other people, let alone publish them and put them on the internet for other
Yeah,
people to
yeah,
listen to. And so it kind of revolves around this idea to me of that we should have like a constant spiritual high, that there should not be spiritual dips or spiritual gaps or spiritual dry seasons. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that? I think it's a myth, but why do you think that myth kind of pervades Christianity and why we think what we think?
I just think there's this
Or do you think
misconception.
it
No,
pervades? Do you
I
think I'm wrong?
do.
Okay, okay.
No, I do. I think that there is that, oh, what's the word? The prosperity preaching, this idea that when you do something, when you give, the return that you get back is going to be positive and it's going to flourish and it's going to be great. And I believe that God takes care of his people.
Hmm.
But just because you do things right and you follow the rules doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It doesn't mean it's supposed to be. We're still living life. It doesn't mean depression goes away. It doesn't mean your sickness goes away. Choosing to serve God does not mean that. And so I think there is that misconception to draw people into church. We teach that this life is better. And
Hmm.
ultimately, yes, it is better. Because I do believe the principles that Jesus teaches us helps us live a better life, but it doesn't excuse us from hardships and it doesn't excuse us from the desert.
Yeah. So I think a lot of this to me comes back to the fact that we are supposed to have this relationship with God, and God is perfect, and
Yeah.
God never takes a break. And I've already said it once. God doesn't fail. He doesn't change. He's always the same. And so when our relationship is not at this place we think it should be because God is perfect, it's almost like we feel like guilt about that. You know what
Oh
I mean?
yeah.
Like this is wait, I this is not what this is supposed to be. I am not performing right. This relationship is not right. And to me, I think we think we're like besmirching God, that we're
Oh,
staining
for
him.
sure. For sure. I think that we think that. And I think there's a lot of guilt in it because we see the people around us and how they respond and the masks that we all put on. We like to pretend like everything's okay. And then I start to think, why is that? What are we really protecting? Um, I guess maybe from that justice that people feel like they have to the hammer they have to put down on others, that's what we're protecting. But I think a lot of it has to do with we look around and see all these people living a life that's prosperous or a life that's happy, or you see on social media the joy. And when we don't feel that, we don't want to share about it. We don't want to talk about it. And so I think we've convinced ourselves, well, then everybody living for God must be living a good life.
Yeah, put a pin in that social media thing, because that
Okay.
I want to come right back to that. But I was drawn in the scripture to places where people struggled. And I think by and large in the scripture, there is, this is going to be insane that I say this, there is a disservice I think that the Bible does us, in that the Bible gives us the highlights, because the Bible just can't give us everything, you know?
Yeah.
So we get the up times, and we get the miracles, and we get the things, and in some ways the Bible is kind of like a version of social media. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, the Red Sea and just victory after victory after victory. But then I think of places in Psalms, like Psalm 13, when David's like, "How long, O Lord?" Or I think of Job. That is just an entire philosophical meandering for 35 chapters of Job and his friends about how life is messed up and things are bad and things. And the more I look at the Bible, the more I see that those downsides, they're there. They're not hidden. They are plain and open before us. But I don't know why it feels like we've got to like sweep those under the rug.
You know, I wish I had a good reason for it, but maybe it's pride. Maybe it's this idea of, I mean, nobody really wants to be vulnerable. I feel like being vulnerable feels like weakness. And if the person next to you is not vulnerable, it's hard then for you to be vulnerable, or at least to start the ball rolling. So I think some of it's that, a vulnerability issue and a pride issue. We want to appear mighty. And then that makes me think all the way back to Adam and Eve, like wanting to be God and wanting just to be the one in charge. Maybe some of it's that. It's that level of pride that, you know, we don't want to show anybody we've got something wrong. It
That's
makes
so
us
good.
less than.
It's like the original sin of humanity was wanting to be something we are not.
Yeah.
We weren't designed to be.
No.
You know, God's like, no, don't let him have that. They'll really mess up. And guess what? We've been messing up for thousands of years.
Exactly what we did
Since that moment. So is there, despite the fact that you just took us back to Adam and Eve, and I agree with it, is there something to you that is special about modern church culture or the way we do things in 2026 that adds to this? Or do you think it's just kind of been that same pride feeling all the way through?
I had my great grandpa said one time that people are always the same. It's just the toys that change. And so I do think that this has always been it. I just think now the toy that has changed is social media. And I think, again, you see a lot of people post photos of them worshiping and serving the Lord, but never the hardships. And I think people try to, let me put it like this. I found it interesting. I like to listen to a lot of interviews. And in these interviews, people are always talking about a hard time they were in. And so I always think about when these interviews are happening, in 2 years, they're going to be referring back to this moment when it was really hard. Why don't we just talk about how hard it is right now? What is it that keeps us from doing that?
You're listening to the victory interviews. You're never
all
listening to the loss interviews.
Yes. Yeah. All the time.
That's interesting.
And so I don't know what to do with that. And I don't know if part of being saved by the word of your testimony is sharing where you are right then. I don't know. Then sometimes it feels like when I think back to my desert season, there were parts of me I did not feel like I could share because I didn't need anybody to tell me what was right and what was wrong. I already knew. I needed to be able to be angry a little bit. I needed to be able to work through some of that. Now, it didn't stop my dad from telling me the things he needed to tell me.
Well, that doesn't mean that the people who love you shouldn't, just because you don't want to hear it.
No.
Or you still kind of need those boundaries that we talk about all the time.
Yeah.
You know, I was going to go the other way on this.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure that modern social media culture isn't potentially a help to this.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like you get people that will say, I'm not okay. This is not how I feel. I'm not feeling how I should be feeling. Although I do think that is good. The inherent danger I see in that is there is this underlying message, even if it's not said explicitly, that is, and it's okay. Right?
Yeah.
You don't want to stay in the desert. You don't want to stay in the dry place. But I think acknowledging that you're there without like turning it into a badge of honor that you wear around. You know what I mean? Like, I am aggrieved, God is wrong, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. I think there's a danger there, but I kind of think people do share more.
Hmm. I could get behind that. I mean, I will say there are things that I have thought were things that I thought were really weird about me that I would get on TikTok and scroll through, and then somebody would post a video, and then I'd read the comments and I'm like, oh my gosh, I was thinking this too. But no one would ever ask that publicly.
Somebody else is pulling their nose hair when they
Yeah,
sneeze.
yes, exactly, exactly. And so, yeah, I mean, I do think there's some positive in that. I do.
So
I
what
would agree with
happens
that.
when we let feeling be the measure of our faith? Right? We measure our
Yeah.
faith by what we're feeling in the moment. What happens if we live and lean on that too much?
Well, I think that the Bible teaches us that the heart is deceitful above all things. And so I think that feelings are fleeting and feelings are reactive. And if I um took action off of every feeling that I had, I would be in a bad place. I would
Mm.
say a lot of things I don't mean. Um, I would make decisions that don't align with my morals or my values. And so I think feelings can be very dangerous. I think they can be good. I do
Yes,
think that feelings are triggers for us, and they are warning signs, and they tell us a lot. But I think they have to be processed through wisdom, and they have to be processed through the Word of God. Why do I feel this? And one thing that
that's good.
I teach this in my class all the time. It's important you understand what you feel so you can deal with it the right way. If your parent and this is again in my class, but if your parent tells you, you were planning to go to McDonald's after school and they pick you up and they say, no, sorry, we have to go see grandma. The initial response, you think you're angry. And so you get mad and there are tears and you just want to say mean things to your
Where's
parent.
my chicken nuggets?
Where's my chicken nuggets? But in reality, you're actually disappointed. And so you're not angry. And I think understanding those differences allow us to deal with it differently. And so I think with feelings, they can be deceitful. So you have to really use wisdom to discern and to understand them.
Your fourth graders are lucky to be in your room.
That's very kind of you to say. It's very kind to say.
Well, I didn't write down that feelings could be deceitful, but what I wrote down fits right in that theme because I think our feelings can just flat out be wrong sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just harken back to when I was getting ready to accept my first teaching job. I had two jobs. I had two offers in front of me, and it was the job that I currently have and a job in your district. And I was familiar with your district because I had done some stuff in college in the city schools, and I had a great time. I thought it was wonderful. I really thought that I would enjoy it, and I ended up taking the position that I have now. And that night when I did it, I had a little bit of like, did I just make a huge mistake? And now 15 years later, and nothing against your district at all. I
No.
think I would have enjoyed that too. Oh man, I'm so glad I did what I did. But if I had listened to myself that night, you know what I mean? I would have just been dead wrong.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking too, if you're always listening to your feelings about the way you feel about God or your relationship with God, sometimes your feelings are just wrong.
They are, and they can be influenced by other people.
Yes.
I've probably said this. In fact, I'm almost sure I did on here before. One of the most profound things I heard a therapist say is she was talking about this inner voice that she thought was God's voice always speaking to her, God's voice influencing her one way or the other. And when it came down to it, when she really started to dissect that, she realized that it was a family member's voice. And so that family member's voice, that inner voice, that person that had spoken the loudest in her life was determining her decisions, and it wasn't God's voice. And so
Interesting.
I think a lot of times our feelings can be influenced by friends, they can be influenced by family, by certain speakers, and all of that has to process through the Word of God. I
Yes.
firmly believe that, and if we're not doing that, like you said, they can, I don't want to say feelings are wrong. They can steer you in the right or the wrong direction.
They're a tool, but they're not the whole compass.
Yes.
They're not the be-all,
exactly.
end-all of everything. They are part of
Exactly.
our toolkit.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you and I agreed, and I'm sure everybody else listening to this is agreed, that we will all, every single person, even the most spiritual among us, are going to have dry seasons. It is just I think it's just part of being a human being.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's help people out. Let's pull out that toolkit. And we'll just kind of rotate back and forth here. I'll let you go first. Give me something that you think would be good for people to hear if they're in a dry season that they do not need. Do not do this thing.
Do not quit going to church. That is, I say that because that's where I found myself. I was so unhappy with where my life was at that point, and I was so angry and so frustrated with things. I wanted to leave, and I wanted to change some major, major things in my life. And I remember going to my dad and talking to him about this, and he said, Hannah, do not make one of those decisions until you know where you're going to go next. If you sit in this limbo, you won't ever go back. And that is the best advice he ever gave me. And I know, we can make arguments that you can live a Christian life and not attend church. And I believe that. But there's a whole lot of value in having a community. The Bible talks about it. And I think it's harder for people to serve God not attending a local church than it is to serve God attending a local church. So my number one thing is do not quit going to church. Don't stop.
We could not have been more on the same page, because the first thing I wrote down in all caps is do not stop. And I was thinking about church, but I was also thinking about like your personal spiritual disciplines too.
Yeah.
I have, when we do in a second, or in a few minutes here, when we do the do section, do this, I have some thoughts about like changing some of those and maybe adapting them, or maybe you need a fresh start with some of those things. But the answer for you going through a season where you don't feel God, I mean, you can feel as empty as you can feel. I promise you, God is still there. And the reason I know that is because I have come out of those empty feelings. And guess what? God was there. He was there the whole time. And so surefire, if you stop talking to him, if you stop reading his word, if you stop going to church, it may in the moment, I think it's important to say, some of those symptoms you're feeling might even ease.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of changing your circumstances. It is not going to do you any good to do those things. That is the foundational stuff to your life.
No, I mean, I remember going to someplace different and sitting in this atmosphere and feeling something and thinking, oh my gosh, this world, it's so much bigger. And there's all this, I'm feeling and almost looking towards something other than God for that fulfillment. You can easily be deceived when you're dry. And I think it's the same as if I'm super, super thirsty, I would definitely be more likely to drink dirty water than if I wasn't.
Yeah. No, this is really good. Yeah.
And so I feel like in this instance, stay faithful to what you know until you feel full enough to step to the next place. And it is, for me, it is as practical as do not stop going to church. Don't stop.
Do not stop. Okay, Hannah, give us another one. Your do not checklist. Do not do this.
My do not is, and it is similar to yours. So sorry, because it's kind of going back and forth there. Being faithful. Don't stop praying. Even if you're sitting in times where you're not saying anything, and you're just sitting with God, there are times I have been angry and I'm like, I don't know what to say to you because you're not doing what I've asked you to do and you're not showing up. Don't stop praying, because at that point it's a habit. And when you break a habit, when you start to feel better and things start to fall into place, it is so much harder to get inside and fix a habit. So keep praying. Don't stop praying.
Okay, I'm gonna stop agreeing with everything that you're saying. Well, I do agree with that, but I'm gonna take us somewhere else.
Okay.
Do not put pressure on feeling God.
Oh, that's a good one.
Feeling God is not the only measure of whether he is there or not. And again, you talked so well about how feelings can deceive. Now, I'm not saying if God gives you feelings that those are deceptive. That is not at all what I'm saying.
Sure.
But if you put pressure on it, this is what I'm going to liken it to. It's like we've all had this. Someone who is trying way too hard in a social circumstance.
Yeah.
Everybody around that person is just kind of like, okay, whoa, buddy. Right?
Yeah.
And when you put all that pressure on, you're like, today is the day I will feel God. It's almost like in exerting that much force to try to make it happen, you're almost guaranteed for it not to happen.
Yeah, it's disappointing.
Yeah, you really got to back off. Like, just calm down, back off. He's still there. Just don't put all that pressure on it.
Well, and in dry seasons, if you think practically in the Bible, in the desert, the wilderness is where grumbling happened. It's
Mm,
where Jesus was tempted. And so it's in those seasons that I feel like we come up against the hardest things. And so if we are not aware of that, and if we're not sticking with those habits, if we're not doing the things we're supposed to do, I think we're more susceptible to fall and truly fall completely off.
totally agree. Do you have one more do not?
I don't. I just have my
Okay,
2.
I do. Let me give you another
Tell
one.
me.
Do not beat yourself up.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one.
There's nothing wrong with you. Well, I suppose you could be doing something wrong,
Sure.
but if you're not doing something wrong and you've analyzed it and you know you're not doing something wrong, then it's no. Right. You're not guilty.
It's
It's
a
not your
great one.
problem. Right. Just don't put it. Again, it's almost like putting that extra pressure on God. Don't put it on yourself either. Everybody does it. The most
Just
religious,
be.
spiritual person. Exactly. Just be.
Well, and that's funny because when we get to and start talking about the things you should do,
Do it.
so my first one is let yourself just sit and
Mm.
pray and be honest. Be okay with just being where you are. Um, don't feel like you have to force a moment. Don't feel like you have to beat yourself up. Be okay with just being. And it goes back to what you had said before that even. Don't beat yourself up for it. There's no reason to do you're not doing hopefully in that case. Usually, at the end
Well,
of the
we should say
day,
though, if you're doing something wrong, okay, stop.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? But if you're literally just in one of those dry seasons and you've got your priorities out of order or something, you know what? Every single human being who's ever lived
We
has
all do
done
it.
that. It's just calm down.
Yeah, and one of the best things I saw growing up is this person wouldn't mind me sharing, but there was an individual that battled a lot with situations growing up. And this individual would do certain things on Friday and Saturday night, would be at church on Sunday morning.
Mm.
And to me, that's how it should be. Ideally, we quit doing the other things. But the fact that this person continued to make it priority and she continued to show up, I think spoke volumes. It showed that her value was still in God. She just had a couple things misplaced that she was trying to work out. And I think that's the way to be. If you're struggling with a sin, keep going anyway. Keep serving, keep loving the Lord, and obviously make better decisions. That's the goal that we're all working toward that. But that's the thing. We're all working toward that.
But you almost have to take that pressure, that make better decisions. You and I both know that you need to, and so does that person.
Sure.
You almost have to take that pressure off of yourself. And that's
Yeah.
almost where you have to get to the place where you're like, okay, you know what though? God still does like me.
Yeah, he still does.
Because if you start corrupting that truth, then you're just in all kinds of a world of hurt. Okay, I'm going
Yeah.
to give you my first do. My first do is do change your prayer time or method. Shake it up. Don't just do the same thing all the time, because in my dry seasons, that is when my spiritual disciplines have become spiritual rituals.
Yeah.
That I'm just doing the same thing because I'm supposed to do the same thing. And I don't want to just completely make rituals evil, because I do think it's good to have habits and things that you always do, but your heart needs to be in it, in the right place. And so if you find yourself in a dry season and the things that you're normally doing, your heart is not in, I think it's worth changing it.
Yeah.
Change the pattern of your prayer, or really, when you think about it, don't even pray. Just talk to him, right? Just talk like you and I are talking right now. Tell him you're angry. Tell him you're frustrated. Break down if you have to, right? People say that all the time. Oh, that was a great therapy session. Just have one with God.
Absolutely.
It'll probably be silent on the other side, but just go ahead and get it out. You know
Just
what I mean?
let it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I think that my second thing is to fill your life with the word, whether it is through listening to sermons. I did a lot of that, especially things that were directly related to the stuff I was battling and felt.
Okay. Yeah.
I also felt like reading was huge for me during that time. And I know everyone doesn't like to read, so listen to a podcast or find somebody that you trust on YouTube that you can watch. Just find, or an audiobook, find things that really fill your spirit. I think that's so important. And also you get to hear that other people are battling similar things to you.
We just have been friends for too long, because my second one was share with another human.
There you go.
You do need to share with God. but there is a reason why you cited earlier that we are supposed to go to church and be in a community. And part of the reason for that is because God recognizes that we need human to human interaction. And so when you share with someone that you care about or someone that you trust, guess what? That person is going to have done this before and they
Yeah.
are going to understand where you're coming from and they're going to sympathize with it. And if they really love you, I think that they'll probably stick with you to help walk you through it. It is completely and totally okay for you to lean on somebody else if you're feeling dry.
It really is. And again, that was really my third one too, was to talk to someone specific. But going back to that number 2 that I had said, I think that what's so valuable about listening to preachers or speakers or
Hmm.
books is they are giving you advice without you having to share things like blatantly, and they don't know you. And there is, to me, there's value in that, knowing that it's not just the people around you, but also I can just hear and be fed and process.
True.
But I do think there is a lot of value in being able to talk to someone. And for
Yes.
me personally, I almost do this weird thing where I like disassociate from the stuff that I'm feeling. And so I could retell a traumatic story to someone and have no feeling or emotion in it. But then there's a period I'm in my car and I'm like crying and it's
Huh.
awful and it's horrible. So sometimes it can be really hard for me to talk to people about things because when it's time to talk, I don't feel it. And like, it doesn't mean anything to me.
That's so interesting. I'm trying to process that. I mean,
Yeah.
huh.
I don't
But
know
is it
why I
is
do
it
that.
good? Is it good though? Like when you're telling the person about something traumatic and you kind of have sapped all the emotion out of it, is that ever helpful? Or you feel like you need to release those things?
Okay, so a little of both. I just TikTok does wonders for people. I saw a counselor that was talking about how it's not great for a client to come in and have already to be able to talk through a session and figure out every problem and work through every emotion by the end of the session. That's me. I'll talk the whole time. I'll work through every emotion. I'll figure out every solution. I see it all
Because you want to be done.
because I want to be done.
Yeah,
But also
yeah.
I just feel like talking, I'm like I think I work through it. But the emotion is never gone because I
Mm,
never process. I'm never just there. I never
mm.
just sit and feel super unhappy because I don't let my mind, it can be too much in my mind sometimes. And so that's why I do think, again, listening to sermons and listening to books, you have that opportunity to be fed, but you can also just sit alone um, at times. And I just feel like that's been really helpful for me.
Well, that's my last do. My last do is ask yourself why. Do
Hmm.
ask why. Because ultimately there is some reason. And again, it is not that God has changed. Now, I'm not trying to like, almost feels like I'm trying to victim shame or blame there. That's not what I'm
Hmm.
trying to do. You've changed.
Yeah.
And so at some point in this dry season, you need to ask yourself why. And not everyone will journal or write things down. But the secret to me about why that can be powerful is it just creates a self awareness and it
Hmm.
makes you step back and kind of disassociate from your present
Sure.
life and think about, okay, why do I feel this way? What am I really chasing after? Is there something that's getting in the way here? And sometimes when you can identify that, it's like the scales fall off your eyes. And not to say that you can just do this in one therapy session, but sometimes you really can see the thing and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, you know what I mean? Then you can
Makes
start to
sense.
deal with it and work on it and change it. And so I do think it's important to ask why.
I think so too. I think that's the key. That's vital. Why am I feeling this? I do though wonder if obviously we know God never changes, but is it sometimes that God puts us in that season
Well,
or
that's
is it
true. That's a great point.
necessary?
Yeah,
I don't know. I think sometimes
that's a great point.
maybe maybe the why because is the why maybe because there has to be growth that takes place in me and some things have to be killed in the dry season. Would that be valid?
Absolutely. I mean, you cited Jesus in the wilderness. In the Old Testament, they had to walk through the wilderness. You know, part of that was for the punishment of the sin. And so if that's where you land on, then I still think there's like comfort in that. And so that you can release all the pressure of, oh, I did something wrong. This is on me. This is my fault. And sometimes it is God is leading you somewhere else. And it may
Yeah.
not be super fun, but at least there's some kind of feeling that you know what's going on.
But that's still the why.
It is.
That's still the questioning what needs to change in me. It may not be quote unquote sinful. I may not be doing something quote unquote sinful, but maybe there's something inside of me that God wants to pull out, and I have to go through that wilderness.
All right. The last thing I want to do for people, because I wanted to really try to have this be practical, because just to be honest with you and everybody else, I may come back and listen to this if I'm in a dry season and think about some of the things that we are talking about. I would like us to just rapid fire pack people a desert survival kit.
Okay.
And so I want to know, I have 3 things written down. I want to know one of your things that you would just slip into this desert survival kit.
For me, this goes with your kind of changing up prayer, but I put prayers on the wall. I would write out my prayers in my closet, and then I would tape them up all over the wall. And just seeing that it just inspired me, allowed me to step out.
That's not like an insane asylum?
It kind of was, yeah. Kind of was, but it worked.
Okay, the first thing, this is going to be so self-serving, it's insane. The first thing I'm going to put in the Desert Survival Guide is the Beyond Sundays podcast.
Oh, that's a great one.
You know why? We're having the types of conversations that you need to have in your life. And if it can get you going to listen to one of the things that we have talked about and meandered all over the place and wondered about, then I think that's worth it to listen to prompt you to have your own conversations.
Yeah, I think that's great.
What else are you slipping in?
Mine is memories of answered prayers. I think that is undervalued. I had a girl, and I know this is rapid fire, but I'll tell this really quick.
No, please.
There's a girl in our youth group who she pulled me aside after our service and said, just looked at me with tears in her eyes, and she's like, "It's real. This is real. I feel it. This is real." And it's moments like that I believe we have to hold on to in the dry season, because we have to remember this is real. I may not feel it right now, but this is real. So journal those, write those down, put them on a sticky note, put them in your phone, read over those.
I love that, because my second one also, I was looking for the emotional thing. It's not answered prayers. I'm going to pull out and read the book of Ruth.
Oh, yeah.
This may not be the thing for everybody, but there is something about the beauty in that story. It makes me cry almost every time I read it, because I can just see the full gospel in that story. So for you, it's probably another corner of the Bible.
Sure.
But if you love Ruth, read Ruth. I guess what I'm saying is find the corner of the Bible that always gets you and always speaks to you, and just put that in front of you and meditate on that, because there's a reason you love it, and it could be the thing that could pull you out of it.
Yeah, I agree. My last one, it's not the Bible, but I still go back to find a book. Find a book that has to deal with specifically what you're dealing with, and let God speak to you through that.
My last one was, I think it would be good for people in a dry season to serve the vulnerable.
Ooh, that's a really good one.
And when you put yourself in a place where you are helping people who do not have as much as you, I just think it has a way of shaking your perspective and making you think about, like, oh, my life really is good. You know, my life is okay. I am going to be okay. I am going to pull through. And I'm not saying compare yourself or look down your nose at them. You know what I'm saying? But in doing what Jesus instructed us to do, to love the widow and help the fatherless, I think his heart is close to that, and it is there. All right, Hannah, somebody's in a dry season. What would you say to them?
I would say, keep doing what you're doing. Keep serving God. Don't quit. It will not always be this way.
Agree. There you have it from the Beyond Sundays podcast. I know that our listeners and our audience, I know that you have been through dry times. And so if there is a time that you're going through right now, as always, if you reach out to us, we would be happy to talk with you about that. If you want to share one of those victory interviews that Hannah was talking about earlier, you made it out on the other side and you'd like to share that with us, I think that'd be wonderful. If you think something should go in our Desert Survival Guide, reach out to us and tell us. We'll read them out on the air. I think this really can be a community where we help one another. And so if you reach out to us in the hopes of helping someone else, we would love to pass that along. We want to thank you for joining us today. We always enjoy going Beyond Sundays and hope that you enjoyed our conversation today and found it practically helpful. If you have any thoughts or comments about our topic today or anything else, please reach out to us. Go to beyondsundays.pod.com for our show links, our socials, our email. You can get in touch with us. And until the next time, may the Lord bless you.